when you are interfacing with me. Never put me behind a microphone and ask me to speak.
Exactly. As we like right now, right?
Once you do that, then you won't even ask why I'm here. You will know why I'm here.
Welcome back, everyone, to the Humor Career Insights podcast, your guide to navigating career success. I'm your host, Bachechi Bafam, a certified professional career coach, human resources consultant, and founder of Humor. Whether you're just starting out or transitioning after years of service, this podcast is your go-to resource for invaluable tips and strategies. In the series, we're tapping into the power of storytelling. Join us as we meet some incredible people whom I have had the privilege to meet in this life journey. Some I have known for a lifetime and some I have just met, but all of them have stories that I know will inspire you as well. So let's get inspired. I'm so excited about today's episode. I first met Lucia in Haiti. If you have listened to my earlier podcasts, you will know about the impact my time in Haiti had on me as an individual and on my career. I talk about the incredible humanitarians that I met during that time, and one of them is Lucia. And she's joining us today. Lucia is a true reflection of the doing good dichotomy. She has an interesting career story of transitioning with agility, grace, and intentional purpose. A very warm welcome to my good friend Lucia. Welcome to Humor Career Insights, Lucia.
Thank you, Fateh. I'm actually honored to be here, and thank you for having me.
Let's dive straight into it, Lucia. Can you share with us what you do, how you do it, and the why?
That's going to be a mouthful, but in essence, I'm a award-winning development practitioner who is a program director for a non-governmental organization or a not-for-profit organization that deals with people with hearing impairment called Wizear. And I'm also a founder of an organization, a community development organization called Rebuild Sakuba. I'm also a founder of another women empowerment organization called When Women Move. And on top of that, I'm also the Eastern and Southern country leaders for Good This Day. And I'm also a country leader for Zimbabwe for Good This Day. I also sit on the WHO here, the World Foundation Forum, and I'm also a philanthropist and an aspiring author. So in essence, that's me. I'm an activist. I love to push women issues to the forefront. And I also love to empower people with disabilities, especially women. So that's what I do.
Wow. And I know that you started off as a teacher. So when you have so I would like you to tell us the story of how did you go from teacher to multi-positions to this high-impact positions. I, for one, have seen the impact that your work has had on the less vulnerable. Can you tell us that career path, that career story?
Definitely. I think my calling really is people, helping people, because it could have gone the other way. I could have actually been a nurse, not a teacher, because I was enrolled at Parinyatwa Hospital as a student nurse, but I only lasted I think 3 or 4 months, and I left and I went home.
Okay, before you carry on, sorry, Lucy, before you carry on, I have to stop you right there because I would like to know why you only lasted 3 months in the nursing field.
I didn't feel it. It didn't give me that, that, what people call it. And I think I wasn't ready for what I saw. There were too many sick people. There were too many people I believed could have been healed or could have lived who died. And then I was like, no, this is not what I want. I want to help people, but I want to make sure whatever I do, whatever impact that I give, I'm not restricted. I want to be there for some of these people, but something at the back of my mind was telling me, you can't be there for everyone. This is not your calling. So at some point, we were given like a weekend off, and then I went home. Instead of me coming back on Sunday, I stayed at home. And I remember my dad asking me, why are you not going back to school? I was like, something happened in the school. They said all the students must stay home. We'll call you. And my dad, I don't know why he bought that kind of story. And then, meanwhile, while I was trying to find out my next lie or excuse, I went into town looking for a job. And guess what? I found a job at Truett's stores. And my job was to speak to people, calling clients, reminding them of their arrears. For me, it was okay, but it wasn't what I really wanted as well. And then when I found the advert in the paper for student teachers, I just wrote my application and I went for the interview. And the funny thing was, when we came out of the interview, like there were so many people who were being interviewed on the day, I could hear people saying, oh, you know what? They asked me about Piaget. They asked me why I want to be a teacher. They asked me about so many things. And for me, I was like, okay, I didn't make the cut. Nobody asked me those questions. I only had 3 questions. The first one was, so you are Lucia? I said, yes. And the next question was, you from Mutare? I said, yes. And then the last one was, you know, you're not 18 years yet. And I said, yes. And that was it. So for me, I never thought I would make the cut. I was actually shocked when I got the letter that says, you know what? We have enrolled you. You were successful in the interview. So when I first went to college, it was like, okay, I'm here to grow. I don't think I'll manage, because there were so many, older people and people who had been to what we used to call temporary teaching. So I was sitting there, I'm looking at everybody in my class and I'm saying, oh my goodness, I am the youngest here. So, but then everything just fell into place when, we started having our lessons, and I liked it, I loved it. And I also played basketball, which was my passion then. So teaching became what I wanted. And when I went for our internship, that was the best time of my life. I had kids to play with. And because I was also still very young, being playful came as part of the package. And then after that, I taught for 14 years as a primary school teacher, but then I think the other 3, I was already promoted to deputy head for a grade 1 school. When we talk of a grade 1 school, we are talking of a school that has more than 1,000 children. So, and I was the non-teaching deputy, so I had an office. But then, this thing of helping people, we had some teachers who were way above 55, 60. So sometimes I would just go and say, you know what? I can do something for you. I can teach for you. I can do your planning, your scheming for you. You don't have to do that. Because I knew I had ample time and I just had to put that time to use. And then the issue of disability, that's when I was also introduced to disability issues, because there was what we used to call a resource class. And in the resource class, there were about 4 children. Some had mental health issues, and there were 2 who had hearing loss issues. But the teacher who had been teaching the resource class was like, I'm tired. I can't keep teaching 4 children. This is not what I trained for. But then it also meant that if she leaves the resource class, there won't be a resource class. So I volunteered. I said to the headmaster, can I be the resource teacher? And he says, okay, fine. I mean, back then in the 90s, people didn't give much attention and priority to issues of children with disabilities coming in schools. And we didn't have many of those schools anyway. So when I volunteered, it was just like to the headmaster. I think for him it was, okay, this person is just keeping the kids occupied. But I'm so thankful to God that a lot started happening. The number increased.
Sorry, Lucia, to cut you off. The number of the volunteers or the number of the students you were helping?
The number of students started to increase because what I did was now to say, I want to go out and visit children in their homes. And when I started with my 4 children, I would visit their homes, talk to the parents, see how the child is living, try to bring some enlightenment to the parent to say, you did a good thing, bring your child to school. This is what we're going to be doing. We're going to be working together. And then the word started going out there that, okay, there's a young teacher who is there. I think she's passionate. And people started bringing in their children to the class. And then the number ballooned from 4 to about 15 in 1 year.
So the heart to serve, serve started way back then.
Very way back.
I'm seeing a lot of initiative.
Okay, go ahead.
I think I'm seeing a lot of initiative there, like volunteering to serve the elders already. That's like, you just have that heart to serve the less vulnerable. It started off when you were a teacher. You're serving, you were helping the elderly teachers for one, but the heart was also to serve the vulnerable kids who had no resource teacher.
Yes. So it has always been in me.
Yeah, it has. Would you say, I know we are still talking, we're still going through the story of how you find yourself here today with so many different positions, but would you say you have found your career purpose now, or would you say your career purpose has been developing or growing from way back then, from that point where you were a teacher?
I would be lying to myself if I say now I am where I think I should be. But I can safely say I am on the right alignment and I'm on the right path at the moment. Especially when we look at what I'm doing now, who I'm working with now, and recognitions that I've had. Remember when I introduced myself, I said a multi-award winning person. Most of the awards that I've been getting have been coming from those pockets where you'd least expect me to get a recognition. So right now I can say I'm continuing to press. I will continue on this path and on this journey for as long as it takes, because it's never done. There's never a day that we can say, oh, you know what? We've done it. It's okay. No, it's never okay. Children are being born every day, and some are being born with the disabilities. But we have some who acquire disability at an older age. So a lot is happening. Policies are changing. The playing field is changing as well, as even the funding partners and donors are changing. So we constantly find ourselves revolving and changing to tune what the situation wants or what the environment is calling for, so that we can remain relevant in this field and remain relevant to the people we want to help.
Okay, excellent, Lucia. Now, we missed a bridge. Let's talk about the bridge from teaching to development work, teaching to humanitarian work. How did you get here?
My last school was a private school. And then I realized something. Girls started coming to me, opening up about issues, at home, issues with relatives, with cousins, and most of them were abuse cases. And because I was giving them an ear, I then started a club where all the girls could come, and then we can spend the afternoon saying, this is our safe space. Let us talk about the issues. And a lot of things started coming up, and some of the things were even heavy on my heart. And I then started to look for organizations that were addressing the issues of girls and I found Girl Child Network. I started talking to the director, to the founder, Betty Makoni. And then she says, you know what? We are actually introducing such clubs in schools. You already have a club. All we need to do is to absorb your club into the Girl Child Network stream. So I invited her, and they came and saw what I was doing. And from there, she said, would you mind joining Girl Child Network? I never went for an interview. I said, yes, I wouldn't mind. That's how I left teaching. Then I joined Girl Child Network. I became the community development officer. My job really was to talk to policymakers and local authorities and traditional leaders, bringing to light some of the practices, harmful practices that we have that impede the growth and development of girls. So that also included childhood marriages. It included certain traditional beliefs that do not promote growth of the child, whether mental, physical, emotional, or social growth. And I learned a lot from the chiefs. I learned a lot from local authorities, from policymakers, even from politicians. I also learned when to listen and when to say something. I learned how to present my issues so that it's not confrontational, but it's more of let's dialogue. Let's work this out together. And I'm also happy and proud to say that I was part of the team that was consulted when the domestic abuse bill came into play. Because I also gave my input. I was also consulted to give my input. And I was happy that I did that, because it also linked me up with other like-minded people who also wanted to see the development of the girl child, who also wanted to see the safety and protection of the girl child. So that also grew me as a person. And in 2004, I won the 2004 Role Model of the Year, Woman Role Model, for the things that I did in 2004, just to bring the issues of the girl child to the forefront, and also coming up with strategies to empower the girl child, to augment her voice, and to give her a platform to air out what she wanted as a person, to let her speak for herself. So that's how I left teaching into the development space or the civil service space. And then from there, I went to serve the children. And I was not just an officer, I was also the child abuse focal person in Harare. So it meant I had to interface with a lot of girls who had issues. And that's when I was also introduced to the judiciary system, because sometimes I would escort them to the court just to make sure justice is served. And it also gave me the link to the police, as well as the victim-friendly unit. So that also made my passion to grow water, because I knew there were systems somewhere that could actually help the girl child. But it's only that parents, communities, and the girl child herself didn't know about these things. So it also changed my trajectory to say, I'm not just protecting these girls, but I'm empowering them to protect themselves, to speak for themselves, to be empowered enough to raise up and defend themselves. So because of that, we moved on swiftly, and I must say, it was like sweat, blood, and tears. It wasn't always rosy.
Yeah.
And sometimes we would wake up in the middle of the night to go and make sure the police will catch the perpetrator. Because during the day, you would never find that person. They would always come home to sleep. So we would wait until maybe 12 midnight, and then the police would ambush, and then we'd get the perpetrator to court. So like I said, it's been a lot of tears, sweat, and blood, but I'm happy that I had a chance to change some girls' lives and other people I don't even know of. I know at some point some people would come and say, you know what, because of you, my daughter is like this. Or because of you, my life has changed. But I know there are some who never got the chance to come and say, you know, you're doing well, keep doing what you're doing. But I know they're out there. So it has been a roller coaster. And then from Save the Children, I moved to Haiti. And it was still helping in a way because in Haiti, I was the emergency response officer. And I got to also work with girls and women and children. Within a space of 6 months, my boss had actually picked up where my passion was. And he said, you know what? We are going to make you our gender focal person for the office. So I started training, like in-house training some of the staff members on issues of gender and child safeguarding. And within, I think, 2 months or so, I became like the regional gender focal person because now I was given the Haitian office, the Jamaican office, and the Dominican Republic office. So now I was hopping from office to office, country to office, bringing issues of gender disparity, gender justice to the forefront, not only to staff, but also to the people we were serving as Christian Aid. So that has been my journey. And during that time, that's when I also thought, okay, if I'm helping people from Haiti, from Jamaica, from Dominican Republic, why can't I also help my own people? That's how we gave birth to Rebuild Sakuva. And I founded that in 2012, but it was actually legally registered in 2015. After that, I then also founded When Women Rise, an organization that is aimed at empowering women, especially widows and single mothers. So I knew there's something good deposited in each and every one of us.
Okay, can I take you back to the beginning of your move to the development world? You mentioned that you were volunteering for this club, and that means you were not being paid for it. And you mentioned that you were not interviewed for the job that saw you moving into the development world. Now, that to me is such an impressive nugget because in your mind, you were not interviewed. You didn't go for a formal interview. But wouldn't you say your work in actually volunteering was an interview in itself? That was your own initiative, and there was no point to put you across a table because the lady who was responsible for the organization had seen the actual work that you could do, initiating a club, and that your passion was definitely gender. It was the girl child.
Yes, you can say that like 80% of it, because when she came to see what I was doing, she realized that I had actually gone like 3 or 4 steps ahead of what they were doing in their clubs. So she wanted the strategy that I was using. She wanted the idea that I had to be run across all the clubs that they were opening up. They were doing quite a very good job. But I think at that point, she also wanted what I had. Because I got this like 2 years down the line when I was in the organization, when I said to myself, but shouldn't I have continued with my own clubs? And then one of the ladies says, you know what? When we came to see you at your school, it didn't take the founder 2 hours or more to make a decision. After we left, while we were driving back to Harare, she said, we need this lady. We need to have her. That's how I got the call. So you're right. It was me showcasing what I could do. That was my first interview.
Yeah, I mentioned that because a lot of people that I speak to see volunteering as like, oh, I'm volunteering, you know. But I have found that what you volunteer for is what you really enjoy doing. It's your actual passion. It's where you can showcase your skills. And I personally, when I volunteer, I volunteer because I really know that I can make an impact, and I know that this is what I love to do. And I have had opportunities where I've started as a volunteer, and like you're saying, the organization has said to me, we need you to come on board. Are you available to do this and this and that? We've got this job opportunity. Because when I was volunteering, I was really showcasing my skills. So all this to say, to anyone who's listening to us right now and is wondering, should I volunteer? Is volunteering a waste of my time? No, it is not. Volunteering has benefits of showcasing your skills, but also you are creating an impact in what you enjoy doing.
You're very right. Yeah, I wouldn't have put it in a better way. But also remember, I said something about Goodies Day.
Yes,
I am the current regional leader for Goodies Day. Goodies Day is a network of volunteers. We volunteer our time, resources, knowledge, everything else you can think of, just to be good to the next person and to the environment. And in my current position, I usually interface with students from universities when they come looking for internship positions. The first thing that I ask them is, have you ever volunteered, or do you volunteer anyway? If they tell me they don't, then I say, you're not the right cut that I'm looking for. I want someone who says my skill can be used by another person and can benefit someone. Let me give it out there. And sometimes I tell them, if you are coming here as an intern, you are coming here to volunteer. It is through volunteering that I can assess the kind of person you are, because through volunteering, I'm not only looking at what you can give physically, I'm also looking at your mental aptitude. I'm looking at how you relate with everybody else. I'm also looking at how open-minded to change or to new ideas are you, and what else do you have to offer on the table. If you come as a volunteer, are you that kind of person who's just here to get and go? Or you're that one person who says, you know what, I have something in me which I want to share. Just help me to put it out there, and then I'll come in and support. So volunteering has immense advantages, a whole lot of advantages.
Okay, there's something else in your story that I would like to hone in, and that is, where did you get courage to be waiting at midnight outside some perpetrator's house with the police? It was dangerous.
Very dangerous. You can say that again. I can actually tell you one story. I won't give names, but there's this one time when we went to this house trying to rescue a 15-year-old who had been married. For the first time, someone pointed a gun at me, and I had to retreat. Even the police officers we had, everybody retreated, because these guys were like, you are trespassing. You have no right to come here. And you as the police, you have no case against me. This is my wife. It was a consensual marriage, but said she's 15. She cannot consent to anyone. Even constitutionally, she can't consent. But then they brought guns, and we rattled back to the shore where we came from. And we had the same thing with another, those garment churches. We went there with so much verve. We said, okay, we're going to rescue almost about 100 girls. When we got there, the guys were waiting for us with all those, wielding sticks. We ran for our lives. We ran up the mountain because they came chasing. So it has never been easy. It was dangerous, but where did I find the courage?
Yes.
I think personally, I draw up my courage from people like you, people I know, people who come into my space not to take, but also to give. So for me, every day I wake up, I'll be like, if I don't do this, there's so-and-so who is actually relying on me to do this. So let me do it. And when I do it and I tell the person I've done this and the person smiles, then I go to bed a happy person. So I draw my strength from the people around me, from my social capital. Those people are very important to me because they not only teach me things, but they show me the other side of life, either by me observing how they live and how they do things, but also from what they say and the people they also rely on. So that's where I draw my courage. And of course, God has been in it from the very beginning. God has always protected me. God has always shown me things that I could never think or imagine on my own. So a lot has been happening. So that's where I draw my strength and courage from.
Yeah, I have definitely witnessed that your faith drives you in a lot of things. Now, a question comes into, have you ever found this issue of faith being an impediment in your professional or in your career growth? Or have you ever found yourself having to hold back the fact that it is God who is the centerpiece of everything that you do?
Yeah, of course. Remember, okay, if you allow me, let me bring in a bit of the Bible. It says,
Of course.
we do not wrestle against blood and
Flesh.
yes, but against principalities. I've been in a situation where someone would say at the beginning of the meeting, we are not praying. If you want to pray, then allow those who follow the African traditional belief to also do what they do, where they do it. And that person would always refer to the disclaimer throughout the whole meeting. We don't want people to talk about God. We don't want to know about your faith. Your faith is your secret. You practice it somewhere else. But I've always had this in my mind to say, whenever I'm going somewhere and I'm not sure of the vibe that I'm going to be in, I'll always pray to God to say, God, protect me. God, give me the wisdom to know what to say, when to say it, and how to say it. And sometimes after the meeting, you can hear people coming to me saying, there's something different about you, or there's something I like about you. Then I'll always say, thank you, God. Yeah, there are some incidents where my faith would be put to test, but I've always learned to trust in God. And I've always learned to say, God, this is your fight. This is your battle. I'm only a catalyst. You are sending me to do your work. So arise and do what you're supposed to do, and things will just work out.
Yeah, that is inspirational. Thank you for sharing. Now, back to the Caribbean, Lucia. I've got a lot of nuggets that I'm drawing from the story, so I'm going to keep drawing you back to different areas of your career story. And I want to take you back to the Caribbean and talk about language. Because having been in the Caribbean, that was a challenge for me. How did you find that? Did you find that language was a challenge? Was it an impediment? How did you go around that?
Actually, over time, I've learned to tell myself that nothing's called a problem or a challenge. I always look for the silver lining in every cloud. So every challenge or anything that you term challenge, for me, it's an opportunity. When I went to the Caribbean, yes, there was French and Creole, and oh my goodness. But for me, I was like, okay, here's my chance to learn French. And I'm sure you're familiar with my story where they got me an interpreter and a teacher who taught me French. But I never declared how much I had learned at office level. So they kept thinking I don't understand French, and every time we are in a meeting, someone has to interpret that into English. Until one day, I went for a field visit, and my interpreter couldn't make it. But then I still said, no, it's okay, I can go. And then I was with the driver who was also not very that word.
Conversational in English, yeah?
Yeah. So he thought he could do a bit of translation. He was shocked to see me talking to the women in Creole. That shocker, he brought it back to the office, told everyone that this woman understands Creole and French, and she speaks Creole and French. And I remember my boss wasn't very happy about it because he said, but why? Because now everybody went back to those days in the meetings when they would talk about me in my presence, and they would do Creole and French, thinking I didn't understand what they were saying.
Oh,
You see?
wow.
So
Yeah.
everybody become like a bit distant from me because they didn't know what my next move was. But then, you know me, I'm always smiling, and sometimes I don't take things to heart. Everything can be a joke to me. But over time, they warmed up to the idea that I didn't need a teacher anymore. I could actually go to the market all by myself, buy my vegetables, come back home smiling. I could go into town, go shopping, go to the
Yeah.
beach, and you see. But yeah, language was the barrier at first. And it was kind of scary, especially when we had heard all those stories about kidnappings and all. So I just had to be very careful who I am with and where I am and whether I needed to say something or not. And sometimes I'll just keep quiet so that nobody picks that I'm not one of them. But yeah, like you said, it was a challenge, but I got around it. And now it's a charm. Even in Zimbabwe, sometimes I walk into a meeting and I find someone who's been to Haiti. Like last month, I went to a UN meeting and there was a guy who was talking about Haiti. And I said, I was in Haiti from 2011 to 2013. And then says to me, that's the same time I was in Haiti. So we started talking about Port-au-Prince and we started throwing around French and Creole words. And everybody was looking at us like, oh, show off. But it was one of those moments that I just enjoyed. And it made my life easier actually because this was the guy who was supposed to make a decision on what I wanted. So, it opened doors for me just for someone to know, oh, this lady's been to Haiti and we went in Haiti around the same time.
Yeah. Funny enough, there have been several people that I have met now, and we have discovered that we actually have been in Haiti. We were in Haiti at the same time. We never met in Haiti, but we are meeting now. And the history of Haiti always brings us back together. We also do the same thing. We talk about, we start talking about Port-au-Prince, we start talking about the language, and it's a unifying thing. So another question. In terms of your new role, let's say, maybe not new job per se, but the actual role, the actual move into the development world, did you have to upskill? Did you find you had to learn new skills, or did you actually have to get a new certification, anything of that nature?
Definitely. There was a lot of, there were a lot of things that I needed to upscale. My new role, I'm sure as you're aware, I'm the director of a healthy, focused organization. There were some medical terms that I had never had. I had never been in a theater as an observer. I had been in a theater as a patient. I had never been in a room full of doctors, specialists, and even in a situation where I walk into the room and they look at me as the woman of the moment. You know, when you walk into a room full of medical doctors and they look at you and say, that's our boss, So I had to do a lot of reading, a lot of consultations, and I made a lot of doctor friends, both local and international. I've been to a lot of conferences. I've also shared platforms where I would talk, give a speech with very renowned specialists in ENT field, I've shaken hands with the only otologist in the southern region of Africa. We call him the father of otology. He's someone I can call even in the midnight because of the friendship that we have. And because of that, I also like the upscaling. In 2019, I enrolled for my PhD in disability and gender. And I'm happy to say I completed my studies. I'm now waiting for the graduation. So don't be surprised next time when you hear people calling me Dr. Lucy Nkomo. It's an academic basis.
Now, that is something I did not know about you, my friend. I did not know that you are soon to be doctor.
I know a lot of people don't know about it because these were studies and researches I was doing, but my family knows. So that had to come because sometimes you go into a meeting where everybody says, my name is Dr. So-and-so, my name is Dr. So-and-so. And then you go, my name is Lucy. Everybody looks at you. And then there's always that crazy one who says, what's your background? And that's when the cookie crumbled. But then now I'm quite confident that even the new role that I got from WHO, being part of a task force, that also gave me the edge to say I need to upscale. I need to have papers that show that I am this other kind of person. Because even locally, I sit on the non-communicable diseases task force for Ministry of Health. And most of the people in there, like I said, are either doctors, nurses, specialists, and of course, there are some few people who are not within the health field. But it's always good to have something that backs you up. Because people will ask, how did you get in the task force? Or how did you get aligned to WHO at that level, at head office level, Geneva level? So, and sometimes I just look up and say in my heart, it's God all the way. But then I can't say it loud because the person might not understand. They might actually get more confused. So, but now that at least I know I have that prefix that says Dr. Lucy Nkomo, it makes my life a lot easier. No more questions, no more, that snitchy eye that says, who are you? What are you doing here? Do you really need to be here? Are you supposed to be here? But then I always tell people that there are two mistakes that anyone can make when you are interfacing with me. Never put me behind a microphone and ask me to speak.
Exactly. As we like right now, right?
Once you do that, then you won't even ask why I'm here. You will know why I'm here. And the second mistake that other people do is to leave me to put one foot in the door. Once I have my foot in the door, be rest assured the whole body is coming in. So I always tell people, don't ever make those two mistakes. Putting me behind a microphone and letting me have an open door or chance to come in, I'll definitely come in.
Okay, those are really interesting nuggets that I want to share with our listeners, like from the listener's perspective, anybody who might be thinking or who might be wanting to get into the door and is struggling to get into that door, but you seem to have that skill of just getting those doors open and also the ability to stand and speak and market yourself. What tips can we share, reversing it now, to anybody who is out there thinking, wow, how can I be Lucia?
Okay, I think the first thing is for them not to want to be another Lucia, because that would be a copycat. The first thing is, how can I be the best version of myself? How can I be me? Once they start that, they now need to find what makes them tick. What's their passion? What do they think they can do better and show their best character in? And one other thing that I would also want to encourage people, they must never underestimate the power of the social capital. People who come into your space, We should be careful about whom we bring into our own personal spaces. Are they coming in to just take, or they're coming in to also give? How do I benefit from this person? How does this person also benefit from what I have? I always tell students that consider yourself as a product. How do you package yourself? How does the next person know about you in such a way that even when you're not there, you are still stuck up in their minds? If you look at I think it's my LinkedIn status, it says I'm too relevant to be ignored. The moment I look at that statement, I say to myself, how do I bring relevance? How do I make someone come across me and not to forget me? So all those other things come in. And also, people should not underestimate the power of reading, the power of knowledge. They say a good leader is a good reader. Let's read around more. Let's find out what the trends are. Let's also find out who is who in the field that you're working in. Because if you don't know who is who, you end up just going around in circles. And also find your own role model. Find out that one person you can go to and say, how did you do this? Be open-minded to learning. We can never learn enough. We can never come to a point where you say, at this point, I'm now learned. No. Learning takes place every day. Even the little things, they bring something back into perspective. We need to appreciate those little things, those little nuggets. Like for me, I don't take these podcasts lightly. I really honor this opportunity to be heard, because you never know. I might be changing someone else's life who's listening, or not just changing, or maybe improving. So we need to read around the issues that we are passionate about. Find who else has gone down that same path. Learn from them. Engage yourself into this discourse, into the discussions. And one other thing that I would like to let people know is, some people say it's cold up there, it's lonely. It's not. It's getting crowded by the day these days. So let's jump out of the comfort zone. Say, okay, now I'm a CEO, I'm a director. They say it's lonely up there, it's just me. No, it's no longer lonely. The place is getting crowded, but it's also survival of the fittest. So you need to read out more. You need to know more about what's happening, know more about the policies surrounding what you're doing, know what the policymakers think of what you're doing. Is there anything that you need to change? If there is, change it. Because if you don't change, will manage you and change you. That's where you find we've got people who have started things, and those things never amounted to anything. It was just starting, or they thought of something, a brilliant idea, but it was just a brilliant idea. It never crossed any river to anywhere. So there's a lot that a person can do to be where they would want to be and then stay there. Or sometimes it's easy to get to where you want, but can you sustain the position? Can you stay there and still remain relevant up to the present day? That's where the challenge is, and that's where the opportunity is. So this is something that people need to really think about.
I like that continuous learning aspect. It's something I always share, that has got to be a theme in your life, a theme in your career, that I'm continually learning, whether it be new skills, whether it be that social capital, whether it be reading. Speaking of reading, which read would you say has been the most impactful in your journey? Whether it be a book or an article?
I still love to read Rich Dad, Poor Dad, Rich Dad. I still read that book, and the 48,
48 Laws of Power.
Knows his power, yes.
Yes,
There are some
by
nuggets
Greek.
in that book that I still keep. And then, like I said about the issue of social capital, I have a very powerful woman I'm following. She's Zimbabwean. Her name is Deborah Tigere. She's been writing very good books about leadership. And I also follow her on social media because she puts some of the nuggets from her books on her post. And those are some of the things that I have also been very keen to follow and share with people. And of course, one of the books that I loved reading was Becoming by Michelle Obama.
Oh,
That
yes,
book,
that was also a
yeah,
good read for me.
it was, and I liked the simplicity of it. It didn't have all those big words, jargon, it was like an invitation to say, come in my space, know what my life has been like and how I got to be where I am in a simpler form. So that's another good read that I've had. And there's also some books by Evans Kurangwa, who's also Zimbabwean. He's been writing very good books about being the CEO or a director, and he also does breakfast meetings. And I make it a point I attend those because he makes sure he brings in renowned speakers, business people, business women, where they will unpack how they got to where they are and inspire us as well. So that's one thing I always do. And one thing I would like to let the listeners know is that at any given point in time in your life, there is someone somewhere talking or deciding about your future, and you're not invited. So make it a point to know where you're supposed to be and at what point, so that you don't have people speaking for you, but you speak for yourself and get to decide your future yourself. I've often met CEOs and directors of organizations who say, you know what, I don't like to go to crowded places. I don't want to go to this hotel. I don't want to go to breakfast meetings. But that's where they are talking about your job. That's where they're talking about you. Be there to defend yourself. Be there to talk about your work. Be there to show them what you're made of. And even, allaying certain fears that other people have. I've often heard people saying, Lucy's unapproachable. But for those who have approached me, they'll say, no, 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 no. That woman is like an open book. She's very approachable. Go and see her. And when they meet me in person, talk to me, then they'll be like, oh, what I heard about you and what I've seen for myself are two different things. So try and be in that space whenever you can.
Lucy, so many nuggets, so many different angles, so many thoughts for us to process and share. Like I said at the beginning, listeners, Lucia's story has really, really inspired me. And I knew that she was going to inspire you too, which is why I invited her to join us on Career Insights. But now it's been an hour. Can you believe it, Lucia? A whole hour we've been talking.
I talk too much.
No, you have an interesting, inspiring story that has lots of different angles. And I feel like I am going to interview you again. We're going to have part 2 of this career story because there is so much that I want to draw from here that I know will be really, really helpful to our listeners. Would you be open to that?
Definitely. Anytime to help a fellow woman, I'm game. Because I don't lose anything by lighting another person's candle. So whenever you're free and you think you want me to come for part 2, just let me know. I'll be there.
Excellent. Thank you so much. And then you brought up something that I would not let you go without asking. And that is being a woman leader in our world. About 2 weeks ago, I was having a conversation with a couple of women about where are the women. there were all these different pictures of men in high positions making big decisions, big world decisions, and there were no women. One picture had one woman. My question to you, Lucia, here you are, an amazing, inspirational woman leader. Where are the women?
We're here.
Good answer.
We're here. It's only that some of the women, they're holding on to a candle that is not lit. It's our job as women to go there and light that candle so that people would see who is behind the candle. And having platforms like these ones, they illuminate what we do and they inspire certain people. A lot of women are afraid to go up there. And issue of patriarchy, like people get married and they become comfortable. Or they're not comfortable, but they're just like, my husband won't allow me. Or if I move 2 steps higher up the ladder, then my husband's ego will be bruised, you know. The women are out there. All we need to do is touch a life, maybe once as we go, but at least illuminate someone else's face so that they can be discovered or they can discover themselves and start doing what they're passionate about or what they need to do. Because trust me, we are out there. But we have listened to the wrong stories. We have listened to people telling us we are the weaker sex. We've listened to people telling us that our place is in the kitchen, barefooted and pregnant. The moment we refuse that description, that's the moment that will go forth. Because for me, I said, no, I could be in the kitchen, but I'll be in the kitchen eating, not what you think. And if I'm barefooted, because I want to feel the coolness of the ground, and I also want to be, rooted. Not that I'm barefooted because someone else has decided that I have to be barefooted. And pregnant is a choice, not a mistake.
True.
Or by someone else.
True.
It has to be my choice. So I think the more we have platforms like this, where we give insights to certain topics that certain women are grappling with, we can help women to move forward.
Okay, women, let us light each other's candle. I like that. Now, to end our conversation, as much as I would love to keep talking, part 2 is coming. Any final one thought, any final one word of encouragement for our listeners as they navigate their own career transitions, which you have done so well and skillfully?
Oh, thank you for saying that. I think my one thing that I would tell women out there is treat yourself as a multi-billionaire. Even though you're not one yet, but treat yourself like one. Because the moment you think yourself as a multi-billionaire, that's when you say there are certain things that you don't do. Things that will impede your development and your growth. There are certain things that you push yourself to do, like you want to read more. You want to meet those who and who's more. You want to be in the right meetings. You want your social capital to have the right people who will just develop you and to also feel that they can be developed by what you have to offer. And lastly, I would say, when people ask me what I bring to the table, I tell them, I am the table. So they are the ones who are supposed to bring things to me. So the moment you're confident of who you are and you know who you are and what you want, this is what will drive you forward. And this is what will drive you to the next level.
That is incredibly inspiring. I am the table. Thank you once again for joining me today on Humor Career Insights. Listeners, thank you for joining us, and I hope you were inspired.
Thank you for having me.